Trigger warnings are another step towards the death of art. Sometimes you are supposed to be shocked or horrified or disgusted, but if you know what to expect during your time playing a game or watching a movie or at theater, you are getting that experience ripped away from you. And the access media just doesn't seem to get that. And now they're putting up pieces like Death Stranding 2 desperately needed content warnings when almost nobody else agrees. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, I understand we live in a time where people feel like they need to be coddled, they need to be babied, you need to tell them what to expect, you need to give them their schedule, and you need to tell them exactly how every single thing is going to go, because some people just can't handle surprise and they can't handle horror and they can't handle all of these different emotions. But not everybody feels that way. Sometimes art is supposed to be uncomfortable, sometimes art is supposed to be shocking, and that is also the case with video games because video games are a form of art. But now Polygon is complaining that Death Stranding 2 desperately needed content warnings and how disgusting some of the content in this game is. And keep in mind, a few days ago, even GameSpot was talking about how, this game has some uncomfortable tropes when it comes to women, or questionable tropes about women, and they said that they should have done the women's stories in different ways because they didn't agree with them. And now we're seeing just all of these different things coming out from the access media where they're basically saying it needed to be different in some way, shape, or form. And this is a major problem. When you give these people an inch, they will take a mile. Oh, well, you should have added content warnings. But then it goes from, oh, you should have given us a little bit of a warning to, oh, you needed to change your product completely because I don't agree with it. It's never enough for these people. So this author over at Polygon, one of the 5 that are left, I'm sure, Josh Broadwell, said content warnings have become, if not standard, then at least more common in entertainment media over the past decade. Film and video games dealing with sensitive topics add small messages alerting viewers and players that they might encounter something troubling. 2 highly sensitive topics that would fit the bill are an integral part of Death Stranding 2 on the Beach's opening hours, but there are no such warnings in sight. This decision is not just irresponsible, it's counterproductive to Death Stranding 2's storytelling in general. Do you want to know what I personally think is irresponsible? Adults not doing their own due diligence. As a journalist or as an individual, if you are curious about the content that is in this game and you really want to be spoiled, you can just go over to the ESRB's webpage. It talks about why it has the rating it actually has. It talks about some of the depictions and some of the themes that are going to be in games. You as a journalist could have just said, hey, listen, if you're ever worried about content that is going to be in a game and you personally are someone who can't deal with mature themes, that, well, first of all, maybe don't buy an M for Mature video game that clearly states when you go to buy it, it has violence and strong language and nudity and gore and all these different things. But you should also be advocating for adults to do their own research. You should be telling them, hey, there are plenty of ways to become more knowledgeable on the topic you're interested in. You could just go to the ESRB webpage. It says it all right here, black and white, clear as day. But do they do that? No, they just go on about how irresponsible it is that the artists behind this game dared to not want the surprise and the suspense of their product ruined. And listen, I'm not the biggest Death Stranding fan out there. I thought the first game was okay. I'm enjoying the second game to a certain degree. It's just a little bit bland at times. That's just my opinion. I completely understand that a lot of people out there absolutely love it. But at the same time, the only full enjoyment I've gotten from it, those moments that I've been blown away with, are number 1, those very suspenseful moments, but number 2, the boss fights that have the extreme gore and violence and shocking factors. And I think a lot of people would generally agree, but if you're an adult who is not sure of the product that they are buying, just do a little bit of research. It's not that tough. The ESRB has a whole webpage where every single game that they rate is listed here. It's always got a description about what you're going to see. And then You don't have to write articles complaining about how the game doesn't do exactly what you want it to do. It says, though, at the end of Death Stranding 2's first episode, main character Sam receives a message from his home security system saying it's under attack. An empty home and signs of a struggle greet Sam upon his arrival, and you use his scanner to follow the footprints of someone who fled the scene on a motorcycle. Death Stranding 2 gives you little time to ponder the discrepancy, though, as Sam quickly finds his friend Fragile, but no Lou, Sam's adopted child who Fragile was minding. Fragile temporarily transported Lou to a beach, Death Stranding speak for the land of the dead, to try and save her, and the child died there, or seemed to. Whether Lou permanently dies or gets revived later by the same Death Stranding magic that makes Sam almost unkillable isn't the point. The point is you see a dead baby, alone, whimpering and crying, and then she falls still without warning and stops breathing. Regardless of what happens later, a child dies suddenly at this moment. Then Sam shoots himself in the head, either out of despair or a misguided attempt to find and revive Lou. The next scene shows him emptying spent shells from a handgun, half a dozen more attempted suicides. Now, they say, don't get me wrong, these scenes are written, staged, and performed with a depth and maturity you don't see in most media, let alone video games. There's no melodrama, no swelling music or wailing or gnashing of teeth to make sure you know how to feel. There's only silence, punctuated by the sound of sticky hands crawling across the floor as the spirit that was Lou crawls back into her baby bridge pod, and Sam realizes she's not coming back, not in any form that matters. But, of course, this is just supposed to make you uncomfortable. It's supposed to make you question what's going on. It's supposed to make you question the future of the story. And yes, sometimes art is extremely uncomfortable, but it's okay if you personally cannot deal with that. But then to go into an article writing about how these developers need to basically push more activism, how they need to push more trigger warnings and content warnings is absolutely insane, in my opinion. Yeah, it does come across as a little bit traumatic if you take it pretty seriously. But we are, at the end of the day, yes, talking about a video game. They even go on to say that maybe that's not the case for you when it comes to being bothered by this, and that's okay. It doesn't mean others shouldn't get that consideration, though. You are getting the consideration when you can go to a website that takes 5 seconds to find and, maybe 2 or 3 minutes to read the excerpt, and then you are given context that you very much so need. But I'm not alone in the opinion that things like trigger warnings kind of ruin part of the art. I mean, even Sir Ian McKellen had condemned ludicrous theater trigger warnings on his own play, saying he prefers to be surprised by loud noises and outrageous behavior. I know Ralph Fiennes has also said the same exact thing, that trigger warnings really damage art and they damage suspense, and I totally and completely agree. He had said that he prefers to be surprised, and even though a warning had been placed on the theater's website saying how the show contains strong language, sexual references, and discussions of bereavement and cancer, he doesn't think that it should be a part of the actual play itself. We are talking, in this case, about a game that is rated M for mature, so only adults should be playing it. Therefore, you should be able to really handle adult themes. They say content warnings don't have to be extensive, dramatic, or even mandatory to view. The more notice a developer draws to it, the worse of an impact it can have. Take Claire Obscure as a negative example. It begins with an unskippable notice that the story includes scenes of attempted suicide, along with a few other issues as depictions of violence and share. If you want to put a trigger warning above the watch credit option or something, I wouldn't necessarily blame the developers for just putting that option there, but ultimately it isn't required, at least in my opinion, and of course a lot of other people's opinions. And it just seems that whenever a game is doing really well and the media really likes a game, or even gamers tend to really enjoy an experience, they always try to find some way to attack it. And now it comes down to the content warnings. Oh, they're not bothered, guys, by the fact that these developers developers didn't want to add one, but it's still irresponsible. But this is still a great game, and it just comes across as being just a very lazy attempt at ultimately attacking a game that a lot of people are really enjoying right now. So I'll definitely be keeping my eye on this to see if any other journos kind of echo the same sentiment. But right now, Polygon cannot attack Death Stranding itself, so what they're doing is they're attacking it by saying it desperately needs content warnings. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.